Alright, boys and girls, probably my last video for a bit. Sound like she's waking up from her nap and she doesn't sound very happy. And we're trying to get this in quick. So this is the regression video. I chose this problem to do and not the one on your review packets because I think this one is going to resemble more of what it will look like on the test for you. So I'm going to do this one. Okay, so first things first, let's turn it on. Oh no, don't see that yet. Okay, so you have to go check to make sure your stat plots are on. So mine are on already. Boom, good. Now remember, the buttons will make sense to what you're doing. We have stats here in our table. I want to enter the stats. So you're going to go to stat. You're going to edit the stats. Okay. Now I have working here from a different problem. I want to clear that. So you need to clear. Enter. If for some reason you happen to hit delete, you're going to delete the entire column, which is going to mess up when you graph it. If you do that, to put it back in, you go second insert, and then the name, you would go second number 2 for L2 to put it back. L1, L2. I want to clear. Okay. So in L1 will go your X, L2 will go your Y. The problem says number of years since 1930. So 1940 is 10 years since then, so 10 is going to go in for X, not 1940. The ones in your review, you could just put the year in, but these, it tells you year since 1930, so this is how you would do it. And this is what it's going to look like tomorrow. So 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Okay. 83, 117, 130, 141, 145, 145 again, and 160. Now's a good time to check all your numbers. Make sure you're good. This one looks like it's off. So that's 141. Okay. So now my stat plots are on. I've done that. I put in my data. Good. Now I want to look at the data and see what it looks like. So I'm going to zoom on the data and I'm going to zoom stat. So you can just press the number 9 if you want, but I scroll down so you can see it. Zoom stat. It will zoom in on your statistics. Now you're going to look at this and determine which one best fits this graph. This has that little squiggle, so that would be a cubic reg. If it looks like this, like a quadratic, then it'll be quad reg. If it looks like a straight line, then it's linear reg. But this one's definitely cubic. Okay, so now I have my stats. I figured out it's cubic reg. Now I want to do stat. Now I want to calculate the actual regression. So I want cubic reg. Boom. Okay. If you haven't looked yet, go check out Abby's Flipgrid. She did a video on this also. It's awesome. It will also walk you through the steps. Now again, this is an older calculator, so I don't have the fancy like multiple rows types of things. If you do, you would go down to store reg and do these next steps. Abby shows you a shortcut, but then all calculators can do the shortcut. You have to see if yours can or not. But the way I'm going to show you will work for all calculators. So in the video I posted, it says you have to put an L1 and L2 in here. You don't have to do that. It will do that by itself, L1 and L2, but I'll do it just in case. L1, comma, L2, comma. So saying it's basically pulling from those L1 and L2. Now, to store the equation, because what we're going to get is going to be a lot of like wacky decimals. Is this recording? Because if it's not, I'm going to be mad. I think it is. So to store the equation, this is what you have to do. This is the long way. Again, Abby shows you a shortcut on Flipgrid. You have to go to vars. You have to go to yvars. And then you're going to want to put a function into y1. Okay. Once you've done all that, if you have the one where all all the rows, you're going to go down to calculate, hit enter. If not, just hit enter. Boom. So you get this crazy equation. Now remember, be careful about this. When I ask you for what the equation is, make sure there's no scientific notation in there. And if there is, make sure you write it so I know. Okay, so now when I go to my graph to make sure this worked, graph, boom. Graph follows the points. Won't always be perfect. As long as it follows the data, we're good. So this worked. Awesome. All those numbers are right here. Perfect. So, it asks you to graph it by hand, just quick sketch, plot the points, ask you write the equation. So this is where you would write this in here. Again, you don't have to do all the decimals. I'll tell you where to round to. Just put that in here. And then this is the question I'm going to ask you. Based on this equation, how many whole minutes should you expect to work in a day in the year 2010? So we did up to 70. So 2010 would be 80. To quickly find that information, you go second table. Now my table starts at 0, and that would stink to go all the way to 80. To go faster, you hit second window, which will bring you to your table setup. And you want the table to start where you're looking for. I want to start at 80 because that's what I want to know. Enter. Then go second table or second graph to get to your table. It starts at 80 and your answer is 183.86. And then that's 1. And then again, this question is the same thing. This says 1930. So you would just go back to second window. 1930 would be the initial year, so that's year 0. Second graph for your table, and that is what you would put for that answer. This question here is a very similar setup to what you will see on your test. You gotta be able to plot the points that you see on the calculator. You gotta be able to give me the equation that you get, and then predict something in the future. Now, the table is just a quicker way for you to look at with your calculator. But if I'm giving you an input, you would just plug that into X and you can find it that way as well. But again, with all these decimals, that is very difficult and sloppy. So it's much easier just to go input and outputs from the table. Okay, I hope that helps, and I hope this is recording. Now I can't shut it off. Oh, it is, thank God.